Hello, so for this video I will be discussing Star Wars The Last Jedi. Over the past several months I have defended this film to a friend of mine. Now I want to start by saying, I'm not saying this is the best film in the Star Wars franchise, not by a long shot. When I left the theater, I, like a lot of people, left the movie confused and upset. Now the more I have defended The Last Jedi, the more I have come to like it. So for this video, I will begin by defending Holdo and the Holdo maneuver. Now for the most part, I will try to stick strictly to the movies for facts. However, I will give a few points that do come from other sources and a theory or two, which come from giving it further thought. So to start with, one of the things I hear many complain about is why did Holdo not reveal her plan to Poe or others? Well, to begin with, we really need to understand the hierarchy of this universe. See, they are not rebels anymore. The rebels were working from under the Empire. The Resistance was more of an unofficial army of the New Republic. Why, you may ask? Well, if you pay attention to Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, it is kind of spelled out that the Republic had no military force. It was more like every planet and group for themselves. The Republic was simply there to act as a middle ground to talk out problems. Of course, this was made clear when Mace Windu says, "There are not enough Jedi to protect the Republic. We are keepers of the peace, not soldiers." This shows, and we learn, that they have no military of their own, which gives Palpatine the room to bring in the clone army he secretly is building. He ends up using them to take over and create the Empire, from which his empire is in power for quite some time. After enough time, and due to several factors, several people come together, rise up from under the rule of the Empire, and they begin to bring it down. This is in the newer books, where Holdo is introduced before A New Hope, where she is mentoring Leia, and they become close friends. She learns of Leia's involvement with the rebels, and slips her information about an upcoming attack. Now, I have not read the book fully, but I do know it is the beginning of their friendship. After the fall of the Empire, we can only guess Holdo was very helpful in getting the New Republic up and running. Now, I have not read all the current canon books, comics, etc. So the following information comes from rumors and other videos I have seen or heard. So I guess after the New Republic was formed, the information leaked out that Darth Vader was once Anakin Skywalker, and that Leia was really his daughter. For the good of the galaxy, she stepped down. If we had a president and the president turned out to be the distant relative of a huge war criminal, it is my guess that person would not stay in power long. Of course, this is just my guess, but moving on. So even though Leia stepped down, she was still informed, and by this time began to hear rumors of the First Order, a small remnant of the Empire left over. Now, most of this was things I heard, but the opening crawl for The Force Awakens tells a slightly different story, that Leia was only a general, and that she was leading forces of the New Republic to face the First Order. Now, it is my theory that the winners did not fully learn the lessons of the past, and dismantled pretty much the bulk of the Empire's fleet after taking over. They kept the ships they had and did not mass produce fleets of their own. So by the time The Last Jedi, Leia and her group are cornered by a huge fleet of enemies. It is possible that Holdo was already on her way like minutes before the fleet showed up, as Poe is flying off to stop them. This explains why the two never met. She probably heard Leia talk about Poe since he was their head pilot. Her group possibly even helped in the evac of the base. However, once the First Order came, they blocked outgoing transmissions so they could not get any more aid. The fuel issue, we can only assume that since their base had just taken out Starkiller Base less than a month ago, we're low on supplies. The reason I say less than a month, well, yes, we see Luke at the end of 7. It probably took them some time to fly there. Star Wars has never had a very great track record of displaying time. Once when I was in school, a Star Wars fan told me it took them 10 years to fly from the Hoth system to Cloud City. I have no idea if this is true, but they did not have a working hyperdrive, and it was not as if Cloud City was down the street and around the corner. So, after Poe's somewhat successful attack on the Dreadnought, he returns and they jump, only to be followed by the First Order. They begin to think there might be a spy among them, and since tracking them through hyperspace is not a thing, a spy seems the most logical idea. For Poe's actions, he is demoted by Leia. Now, she probably had time to talk to Holdo about demoting Poe, but then Kylo Ren attacks and Leia ends up in a coma. Leia just learned about the tracking through hyperspace right before the attack, so Holdo probably did not know, was given orders from Leia, her friend, to oversee the evac on Crate and be wary of any spies. They were not going there to survive, they were heading there to hide and call reinforcements. So Holdo, next in line, takes over for Leia, and Poe starts questioning her. She tries to be nice, but still thinking that he might be a spy. Even once she is told about his plan, it sounds so crazy, no leader would accept it. Imagine you're leading a group of soldiers into a fight, and a lower officer tells you he set up this crazy plan without your okay, a plan that has every chance of failure. Now, see, this is where military movies and having a military family background comes into play. The first thing you learn is you follow orders, unless your orders are wrong or immoral. At best, at that point, you can refuse. The very best example of this I can give is one of my dad's favorite movies, Crimson Tide, in which a similar thing happens. Kinda. So the plot is this. On a sub with bad communications, they receive scrambled orders to fire nukes at a potential enemy. But the orders are so bad, the first officer is told to use his key by the captain. Now, if he is wrong, possibly start World War III. The captain threatens him at gunpoint. However, several members of the crew step in and detain the crazed captain. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but it's worth checking out. The point is, Poe is a low-level officer. Holdo had nothing to explain to him. He only had to sit, wait, and follow orders. The fact he did not and committed mutiny. Now, in our world today, I'm not sure what the penalty is for mutiny, but it used to be death. So Poe gets very, very lucky. So was Holdo wrong for keeping that from Poe? No. He was a low-level officer that was just punished and possibly a spy. Or even if he wasn't, someone in the room could have been a spy. Also, the fact that he could not follow orders showed he could not be trusted. Next, and here's the big one, the Holdo maneuver. People ask, why did they not just do this with the Empire and the Death Star or in any other battles like Starkiller Base. Really? Really? Why is this even a question? There are two reasons I can think of. I'm not a rocket scientist, but I know enough that once a ship is moving at light speed and it crashes into something else, well, even though it worked, who's not to say that hundreds of chunks of debris were not also sent flying through the galaxy at light speed? Now, some of that might be small enough to burn up, but if a chunk of rock hits Earth at light speed, what do you think would happen? My best guess, it's not going to be good. In fact, I bet it would be devastating. Who knows what the long-term effect on that part of space would be? They're not using gasoline. The second reason is because they're not terrorists. They're supposed to be the heroes. Remember 9/11? When people took over a plane and crashed it into the Twin Towers? Those people were called terrorists. Have people crash planes into buildings, planes, blimps, etc.? Yeah, probably, but only as a very last resort. We do not tell our pilots to resort to this action. If it is done as an accident or an act of desperation. The thing is, they are a limited group with limited supplies. Holdo did what she did to help them out of an act of desperation. The next part is a minor spoiler for Rise of Skywalker. You have been warned. So when the Holdo maneuver is brought up in episode 9, it is said that it is 1 in a million shot. That was wrong. They should have said it's because it's too dangerous, or we are not terrorists, or we are not resorting to suicide bombers. Then that person should have been kept away from any ship and possibly detained. So in closing, I hoped this helped you understand Holdo a bit better, but really most of this stuff was in the movie and was written properly, or was easy enough to piece together and work out. Like I said, I am really starting to see The Last Jedi in a better light. I will be doing more breakdowns and theories on Star Wars and other movies down the road. I hope to make this a weekly thing, as time permits. Please check out my book series on Amazon, The Guardian of Light. It is an epic fantasy novel for teens and adults. Thank you for watching.